everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Kim, and today I want to show you around my personal dashboard in Notion. In this dashboard I have everything I need on a day-to-day basis, and most of the time I spend in Notion, I spend in this dashboard. I spend time in other places in Notion for very specific reasons, but everything I need on a day-to-day basis is in here. As you can maybe tell by the title and by my banner, everything here is Harry Potter themed, and Ravenclaw in particular, because I'm a Ravenclaw. And this banner here is a picture of the Ravenclaw common room. Then I have a quote right here. It's just a quote block with a quote I liked. It's not from Harry Potter, it's just a random quote. Then I have a call out block with things I want to pay attention to. So I didn't set goals this year, but they are just things I want to keep in the forefront of my mind, and I just put them here in a call out block. Then over here in the middle we have the daily profit, which are my daily pages or my habit tracker. So I use the daily pages and the habit tracker in one database, but I have 3 different databases, one for the family in general, one for myself, and one for my son. I do have a template of this dashboard available, which will be linked in the description box, and there will only be one habit tracker / daily page. If you have different family members who you would like that for or anything like this, you can of course duplicate it. The first one I have here is the family, and this is, well, not a habit tracker at all actually. Those are just daily pages, and most of the properties I have in here are relations. Some of the properties that aren't relations are the date, the day of the week, and the weather. And I have this filter to show only today. So at the end of the day I can go in here and fill it out. So the first one I have here, the first relation is tasks and events. That's one that would be filled out already. If there were any tasks or events related to the day, I would already see them here. Just the same with the meal which is planned for today. I do a weekly meal plan and relate all the recipes to the corresponding day. So both the tasks and events as well as the meal plan would already or is already filled out when I start my day. Everything else will be filled out in the end of the day, such as the weather, which is just a regular text property. Then other properties we have in here are the ones that will be filled out throughout the day or at the end of the day, which is relation to the projects database. If I have any projects I worked on that day or that were relevant that day, any symptoms or illnesses or injuries that happened that day, any milestones or other important events or happenings I want to remember in the future relating to this day, any medication we took today, or any notes that are related to this day, although the notes database I hardly use anymore since I use Obsidian for notes now. And then the last one, which is another one I use daily, so most of those aren't filled out every day. They're actually only filled out very sporadically, since they're only relevant if something happened that day. The last one is called What Happened Today, and this is where I just put in one sentence, maybe just a few words, or maybe more sentences depending on what happened today. Sometimes it's just normal day, went shopping, didn't do much, something like this. But other times, if something important happened, it might be a little more. Then the next one is my personal habit tracker, and this is more like a regular habit tracker. As you can see, there are some habits I track that I just tick off at the end of the day. I also have a relation to my tasks and events database, although here I rarely have anything. Those are tasks and events that are very specific to me. Most of the tasks and most of the events that are important to me, I still have them in the family database, because there are things that are still important for the family as a whole. Like maybe if I have a doctor's appointment or all the household chores I still have them in the family database. In here I only keep things that aren't related to the family or the household and just to me, such as maybe if I were meeting friends or anything, which, considering the current situation, is very rarely. Then I also have other properties here which are still a kind of habit tracking, such as a food log, or how many minutes I exercised a day, what kind of exercises I did, what kind of fun activities I did that day, what kind of studying or learning I did that day. I have all those things here in multi-select options or something like that. And then here towards the end, I have a relation to my books database and my media database. Here is where I link what I read that day or any other content I consumed, such as TV shows or YouTube videos, podcasts, things like that. And then back here, I have a one line a day property, which is basically the same as the what happened property in my family database, although I have rarely anything to fill in here right now because I don't do much, and the little I do is usually written down in the family database. The last one is the one for my son. Here I only have very few properties. One is for his vitamin he has to take every day, one is for his mood, and then another line a day, which I use more often because he's only 6 months old right now, and he has a lot of milestones. Like every week there's something new he learns or something new he does he hasn't done before, and most of those things I'll write down here. Next thing is my notice board, where I have other relevant databases. The first one is my homework database, which is my tasks and events database. And as you can see with my other databases up here, all the relations, they're still called their regular name, although I recently renamed almost all my databases according to a Harry Potter theme. And I will do a video about this soon, about why I renamed my databases and why I want to keep it that way. It's not necessarily about the Harry Potter names, because that one is obvious. I'm just a pretty big Harry Potter fan, but it's about why I named all my databases names that aren't their regular names. So I don't have a tasks and events database anymore. I don't have a projects database anymore or an areas database. I renamed all of them, and this is more than just like a theme or aesthetics issue. This is something that really helped me, and I want to do a video about this and tell you more about this later. But for right now, let's just have a quick look in my database. This one isn't really organized. Here I have just some things that came up. Most of them don't have a date yet or anything. If I have not an idea, but if there's a task or something I want to do or have to do eventually, I just put it in there, and then at the end of the day I go through everything and label it, put a date to it, everything like that. And I do plan on revamping this dashboard just a little bit to have multiple views of this database, of the homework database. One where I have the actual tasks I have to do that day. Then I want to have one where I have tasks that I have to do sometime soon-ish, and one which is for longer term tasks that I have to do eventually. I haven't done that yet, and I thought about doing it before I filmed this video, but then I thought, why not show it to you the way I use it now, and then eventually show it to you when I revamped it, because I think Notion, at least for me, is always a work in progress. And while I have my main system locked down right now, while I'm really happy with the way everything works, I always be tweaking something on the dashboard or with one database or another. So I don't think there's a point in waiting to film a video until everything is done, because it won't ever be. Then underneath it I have my Quidditch schedule, which is basically my content calendar. Here with the no status I have all kinds of video or templates idea I want to create at some point, but they aren't like planned yet or anything. And then here I have film, my personal dashboard, which is what I'm doing right now. Then I have edit, thumbnail, upload, and planned, and then complete. And this is basically a Kanban view where I can just have all my video ideas or template ideas or anything else, and I can just take this. So now I'm filming it, but once it's filmed it goes in here, and then I have to edit it, so I can always see if there's something I still have to do. The last one underneath the notice board is my room of requirement, which is basically a notes database, or I've heard it called anything and everything database. It's just something where everything goes that doesn't have a different place, more or less. It's the room of requirement where you can find basically everything. As I said before, I keep most of my notes in Obsidian, but if there is a quick note I want to take on something and I want to have it in Notion, I put it in here. Or if there's something I want to keep, or an idea or anything I want to keep in Notion, it doesn't have a place anywhere else, it just goes in here. Then over here I have my game plan, and underneath this one is get organized. It's a toggle which only has some checkboxes, and this is for things like, let's call it projects. I don't really like the term project, which is why I don't have a projects database anymore, but I still have something like it. It's my classes database, but I don't have this linked on my personal dashboard because most of the things there I don't need to work on a daily basis. But down here I have, well, let's call them projects for lack of a better word, that are my top priority right now. And right now, for example, I need to get organized. I remember my Notion. I have to do some physical organizing in my filing cabinet and things like that. And this is my number one priority right now. So I have it here and I just have some checkboxes. I do have a project with this name, and I also have tasks in my task database related to this. But sometimes I just like seeing something separate and with checkboxes. So there is no real point to this that I could easily explain. As I said, there are tasks for this, there is a project for this, but I just prefer to have it here in one glance. And once I've done everything here, I'll find a new thing that has top priority, and this will go here. Then down here I have my class schedule, which is basically my perfect day or my daily routine. I have the morning, afternoon, evening, and this is like noon-ish. This is a word in German that apparently there isn't a corresponding one in English, so I don't know what to call it, but let's call it noon-ish or before noon. It's basically the time between early morning and afternoon. It's called Vormittag in German. And here I just have, again, checkboxes. This is another kind of habit tracker, or maybe a routine tracker, where I just have everything I want to do in a day, and I have it in this toggle. So as I said, separate to time of day, and I can just tick it off. I don't use this every day. Sometimes I just ignore it. Sometimes I just want to look at it, but don't bother checking it off. But if I have checked it off, I can just delete it and through this template button create a new day. If I do it, it's not in the columns, so I can just put this in the column. You could configure the template button to do it like this, but I use the template button very rarely, so I haven't bothered with it yet. So let's delete all of that. And down here we have Hogwarts, or the Wizarding World as the database is called, and this is basically my areas or my pillars, whatever you want to call it. And all of those things are dashboards in themselves, but they are dashboards I only go to when I need something very specific. The first one is the Quidditch pitch, which, if you remember my Quidditch schedule, is my YouTube or content or business area. Then we have the library, where I have all my books, my book database, my media database, author database, things like that. Then I have the Potions Lab, which is my learning area, where I have projects related to learning, which is something that's really on the back burner right now because, as I said, 6-month-old baby. But I do have, for example, a class there or a project, as it would ordinarily be called, about learning a new language or things like that. And then I have the dungeons, which is my Dungeons and Dragons area, which is a whole animal in of itself. I'll do a video about this as well. I have so many databases in there, and I put a lot of effort in this one, and I'm really proud of it. So, as I said, I'll show it to you in another video because I don't think everyone is interested in it in D&D. But if you are and you like using Notion, or you're looking for a way to organize your D&D stuff, especially if you're a DM, stay tuned for that video because I think this is really helpful. And then down here I have Flourish and Plots, which is basically all my media. I have my books database in here, which I really need to go over. And I have so many things in status reading right now, which a lot of them I finished or DNF'd. I have to go through this. I usually do this every evening. After I have gone through my habit tracker and related all the books I read this day and everything else, I go down there and change the status of any books that I finished or DNF'd, but I haven't done that in a while, so it's a pretty long database. Then I have the media database, which is pretty small right now because I only started this recently, and most of the things I still add in there through my daily tracker, so I actually need to go through this as well and add context to a lot of the things, because there are now some things that have no context whatsoever that I just added through my habit tracker. For example, I've spent a lot of time watching 911 recently, so it's just the name, there isn't anything else in there. But there are also names of YouTubers or content creators I follow, like John or Danny is in here, which Danny has context, John hasn't. As I said, I really need to go through this. So, if you've been paying attention to the video, you'll have noticed when I scrolled down here at first, there was bookmarks instead of the Quibbler. But I don't actually have a bookmarks database anymore. I deleted that one and put the things that were in there that I wanted to keep in my Quibbler database. But since I rarely access this database, I actually forgot to change it in my common room. So I just did that really quick. As I said, no more bookmarks database. I have the Quibbler now. And the Quibbler is a mashup of different things, but in my mind, it makes sense. So I'll just give you a quick look because I just created the link database in here. I haven't set up a filter or anything yet, so you just see everything in here. There's a lot of stuff. As you can see, there's a lot of baby stuff. And what I keep in a Quibbler is some bookmarks, specifically things I want to remember. Maybe if an article I read that I really want to keep somehow because it inspired me, or there was some or a lot of useful information, I put it in here. But most of the things are here are kind of resources. So there are a lot of baby clubs from different drugstores and things like that, where you can register and then you get coupons and things like that, or other kind of website related to baby stuff or not, where you can get free courses or anything, or even like paid courses or any kind of resource in any way. Everything I want to keep in here, I keep in a Quibbler. There are also, what I also is want to put in here are all the kind of apps and websites I use or I have subscriptions to. Everything will go in the Quibbler. I'm not really up to date with this one yet because I just put things in there as I use them. Obviously, I've already had a lot of apps and subscriptions and things like that when I started using Notion, so I haven't gone back and put everything in there yet, but it's a work in progress. So whenever I get something new, I put it in there, and then when I have some time, I go back and put old stuff in there. But that's basically it for my personal dashboard for my common room. As I said, there is a template available in the description box. It's a little bit different because a lot of stuff in here is very personal and wouldn't be of use to anyone else. But I try to keep it as similar as possible. And yeah, I hope you liked this video. If you did so, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, or even better yet, leave me a comment. I love getting in touch with you, hearing your opinion, maybe learning something from you, seeing how you use something similar to me or something completely different. It's just always interesting to hear different opinions. Bye!